All right, let me address it right off the start. The sweater has nothing to do with Africa. It's just the last episode did so bad that I needed a gimmick. I needed some reason for people to keep coming back. Because once you know you run out of substance, then you got to play all the tricks, right? Now you could be asking, well, Garv, you went to Africa for 2 weeks. Isn't that enough of intrigue to get people pulled in, reeled in, hooked? Well, yes, that's actually a really good point. But I already put the sweater on and it's comfortable, so I'm not gonna take it off. But you're probably like, oh, well, you got the sweater in Africa, right? No, I didn't. It has nothing to do with Africa. I got it off the Amazon website, not the northern part of Africa. So still, yeah, not related to Africa at all. I got it off Amazon like months ago, maybe even over a year. So just thought I should address it because this will be happening the whole time. And if you're listening just on audio, it's still on YouTube. This is only on YouTube right now, but if you just listen to this, you're not missing anything. We'll leave it at that. But yes, I went to Africa for 2 weeks. I'll set it up. I went with my sister and my mom. It was a 12-day trip, and the way it worked is that we went from Sacramento to LAX to Doha to Cape Town. So what are those flights, right? From Sacramento to LAX. And this is everyone's favorite part of retelling vacation, right? Letting you know the itinerary. That's the most juicy, succulent parts of these stories, aren't they? Oh, yeah, and then we had a layover. Oh, I love a layover talk. But I know you love that too, so I'll give it to you. Sacramento to LA, what, hour 37 minutes? Then there was about a 2 hour layover in LAX, and then it was a 15 hour and 35-minute flight from LAX to Doha, Qatar. Do you know about this place? It's just hanging off of Saudi Arabia. And so that's where we went, where there was an 8 hour layover. And during this 8 hour layover, we took a 3 hour excursion. We left the airport, we went on a bus, and they took us on a tour around Doha, which I believe is the capital of Qatar. And it's this beautiful city. And it's very, very humid. In fact, when we came back, I'll let you know that we came back from Johannesburg to Qatar to Seattle to Sacramento. And when we landed in Qatar on that return flight, immediately upon hitting the ground, the windows fogged up. I thought it was raining or something, but no, it was just humid. Even when you leave the plane, the way it works in Qatar is you don't just go into the airport. You go out to a shuttle that's waiting for you, and then it drives you to the airport. And when I got to the shuttle, it was drenched. There was water just all over the ground of the bus. I was like, oh, was it raining? But no, the air is just wet. It gives Florida a run for its money. I used to think that Florida was drenched, but I'm not talking about okay. Florida is probably drenched right now, but that's not current events aside. I mean, the average of Florida, it is even worse than that. I've always said that, oh yeah, Florida's great. I went to Disney World once when I was younger, and I would always tell people, I mean, Florida's fine, but god damn, it's humid. That's the only reason I don't really love it. But Qatar is even more humid, but I like it. So it's got to make you wonder, what is Disney World falling short at? Is Epcot all it's cut out to be? I don't know. Anyways, like I said, it was a 15-and-a-half-hour flight from LAX to Qatar, Doha, and then from there to Cape Town, it was a 9 hour and 50-minute flight. And really, nothing exciting really happened on these flights, except on the 15-and-a-half-hour flight, the LAX to Doha, because I swear to God, I almost watched a man die in front of me. Alright, guys, stop exaggerating. You're probably just playing this up to get people pulled in. But no, that's why I wore the sweater. I already have the intrigue. I don't have to be interesting. See, that's the nice part about a gimmick. You don't actually have to bring anything of substance because the thing that you've set has full control. I don't have to do anything. I can just sit and go boo, 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 and then you would listen because you're a child, aren't you? Oh, fall on my finger. Oh, okay. But yeah, I almost saw a guy die. Let me set the stage. For all the long flights, we splurged. I think it was like $80, but we got the emergency exit seats, which was great. We had to stretch out our legs, and it's great. There are some people that loiter because that's also where the bathrooms are, so they just kind of stand there. And you don't make eye contact with them, but when you do sneak a glance upwards, for some reason it's always met. There's always someone like, yeah, I'm standing here to stretch my body out. And I could look anywhere. I could look anywhere in this plane. I have a great vantage point, but I'm going to stare at you, the closest thing to me. I'm like, all right, that's easy. And really, that's it. That's all you get to see, you know? Some standers, some loitering. Where's Tyler, the Creator? We got the loiter squad. Oh, we have fun. But no, really nothing exciting happened, except I'll pull up a picture. Here we go. This was the view from my seat. You can see that I can kind of see the aisle in front of me there, right? And about 4 or 5 seats into that aisle on the right side, the aisle seat, there was a gentleman that was getting a little bit of assistance partway through the flight, maybe like halfway through the flight. And there were, 1 flight attendant, then 2 flight attendant, then 3 flight attendant huddled around him, and I couldn't really see what was happening. Not because they were in the way, but anytime, you ever see a car accident? There's always people that are just pulled off and they're like, I'm gonna be here. I'm not gonna go help. I'm just gonna be here so I can stand by and be like, oh, you guys need me? What are you gonna do? Huh? What help do you think you'd be? But yeah, of course there were people just waiting, right? Behind the flight attendants being like, oh, what's going on? What's going on? I don't know. Maybe give the guy some fucking space. And let me see, because maybe they would need my help, and maybe I'll jump in, huh? But no, things were getting hot and heavy, and then they relocated him. They took him from the seat, and they said, sir, come over here. And if you remember from the photo, I'll pull out the photo again, there were these 2 seats right in front of me. It's where flight attendants are supposed to sit when the plane taxis, takes off, and lands. Or in case someone's having, some medical issues. And they sat the man on the left seat, so sitting right in front of me. And then they were crouched in front of him. They had a oxygen mask attached to an oxygen, what do you call it? Canister? Tube? I don't know. Oxygen tank? Oxygen mask to oxygen tank. And then they even put that little thing on his finger, that lights up red. And they hooked him up to this thing that's, I could read on top. It said, heartbeat monitor. I was like, oh no. I don't know what you would think in that situation, but to me, I'm like, that doesn't seem great. And so I had this thought. I don't know if this is a fucked up thought, but I was like, Garv, what are the chances that this man passes away? I don't know, because I don't know anything about health. You should see how sedentary my lifestyle is. Of course I don't know anything about health. Oh, we have fun. But I was like, in the off chance, again, this feels fucked up. In the off chance that this man moves on, right? I thought this could, selfishly, ruin flights forever. If I watch a guy die on a plane, I might never be able to fly again. So I was thinking, Garv, you should just try to sleep. And so I closed my eyes, put my head back, I had that like neck pillow thing. But it's like a good one, not the cheap, shitty one. I got a good one. Same place I got this sweater. Yes, right. The Amazon. Not the rainforest, the .com. You're familiar with the one, right? Thought of a bad joke. Not going to say it. But I tried to go to sleep, and I couldn't do it because I was too interested. Because I'm like, what's happening? So I kept falling asleep. But I kept, kind of eye open the whole time. And also, I wanted to go to sleep because I'm like, if I was in this guy's position, I wouldn't want to look across and see me just watching him. Like those people that were loitering before. I don't want viewers when I'm like trying to keep my shit together. So I was trying to make him feel comfortable and be like, no, man, you do it. You take care of whatever you need to do, and I'll just be here. If you need me, tap in, I don't know if the flight attendants know what they're doing, so call in the big guns, Yeah, no, I don't know what I'm doing either, but I'm great moral support. That's really where I thrive. And then, maybe 15 minutes pass, and then he goes back to his seat, and it's fine, and we did well. And it was also kind of scary because I'm like, where are we? Are we like close enough to where we left? Or are we close enough to our destination that we can no, but we were I took a picture. We were right on top of Iceland, pretty much the dead center of our trek. So I was like, I don't know. If something happens, that's it. We're up here. And he's even higher. All right, easy, Garv. But that's it. That's really the most exciting thing that happened. And then we got down to Doha. We did that little excursion. It was nice. Really, the exciting stuff happened when we actually got to South Africa. That's the meat of the trip, right? In the 12 days that I was gone, 10 of those were South Africa. The other 2 days were just purely travel, because to get there it takes 1 day and 14 hours, and to come back it takes a day and 9 hours. So then when we finally get to the first place, right, where do we go? Cape Town, that's where I said. Went to a few, 3 places inside of South Africa. We started in Cape Town, then we went to a place called Hoedspruit. I think I'm pronouncing it correctly, I don't know. I'm going to try not to say that word too much because I swear to God I'm butchering it and disrespecting it. And then from there we went to Johannesburg. So within South Africa, you take these small flights, right? Cape Town to Hoedspruit, and then Hoedspruit to Johannesburg, which a lot of people call Joburg. That's right. Tyla wasn't just making that up. There's some validity to her claim. But it does make me worry, right? You ever see people that call San Francisco San Fran? That's how you know they're an imposter. Why are you calling it that? I worry that Joburg has the same thing, where it's like, wait, why are you saying Joburg, huh? It's like when someone calls California Cali. It's like, all right, easy now. It's kind of like that. Isn't there that one clip from a movie where someone says, "Oh yeah, we'll take 3," and the way he like raises his hand isn't, or like does the 3, it's not. It like gives him up. I don't know. That seems like a thing that I've seen before, and I could be totally wrong. Anyways, we're in Cape Town the first 3 days. Very nice. Really like Cape Town. We walk through this botanical garden, and when we're there, we're in this tour group, right? It's me, my mom, sister, and then 11 others. So we're in a group of 14 total. And when we're walking through this botanical garden in Cape Town, again, it's recommended before you go on these trips to call a travel nurse, and then they give you all the information on what meds you need. So they prescribed us 2 meds. The first is malaria medicine. If you go anywhere that's high volume, right, or high population of mosquitoes that, carry malaria, you got to take this malaria medicine. And the way it works is you take it the day before you go to this place, every day you're there, and then 7 days following you being there. In fact, I still have, I think, 1 or 2 more doses I still have to take, little pills. And then the other one they prescribe you. It's optional. They ask you, hey, do you want this one? But I say, yeah, give me it all. A la carte, right? Is that what that means? I don't know. I know a la mode is ice cream, but that doesn't apply here, does it? That's just a different thing. But the last one they give you is a diarrhea medicine, and that's the optional one. The second one is optional, diarrhea. They're like, hey, in case you experience this, do you want this? I'm like, hey, I'm not gonna get that, but if it would be easier for you, just throw it in, right? They're like, no, it's your choice. No, please stop. It seems like you're already putting it in the bag. Maybe just drop it, and just put it in and write it down in the computer and give it to me, please, because I would love that. So they give you 3 of those, because if you take more than 3 of those, go to a doctor. It's 10 days. Why do you have diarrhea more than 3 times? What the fuck? Then you're in serious trouble. And I'm proud to admit that I didn't have to take any of those. I did throw up once, however, but it only came out this way, so that's good. I did stay in the bathroom for about 30 minutes after I threw up, but that was just to collect myself, But I was good that way. It was everything going up. I'm all the way up. Yeah, no, I threw up. And it was painful, but I don't know what did it. See, I had fish and chips that day. We went and saw these penguins, and then we went to this nice restaurant. I got these beer-battered fish and chips. And I felt good. It was nice. And then like 4 hours later, we end up back at the hotel. And we brought snacks, and we had these Scooby-Doo fruit snacks. I had 1 pack of those. And then my stomach started feeling a little weird. I was like, I'll take a nap. It's been a long day. Jet lag still hasn't fully done its thing. So let me just get some Z's real quick. And I planned for a 2-hour nap. I woke up 40 minutes in. Immediately, my body was like, dude, it's happening. I was like, really? I felt like this is what, right, pregnant women feel like when their water breaks. That's what I felt like. I can relate to pregnant women and their all the pain of it. I feel the same way because I had an upset tummy one time. But yeah, no, I woke up and my body was very receptive, or it was very It was on the ball. It knew immediately what was up. You got to give him props because I woke up. He was like, dude, we got somewhere to go. And I went there. It was a bathroom and we did our thing. And right now I'm blaming the Scooby-Doo fruit snacks, but who knows? It could have been the fish and chips. There's no way to tell. But when we were with this group, we toured this botanical garden and we're supposed to get rabies shots. My travel nurse was like, you're fine, just don't get close to animals. If you don't get close to animals, they won't bite you. You don't need a rabies shot. All right, you should be fine. And even if they do bite you, I'm like, don't leave the door open. They're like, well, we have to cover all the bases. I'm like, fine. But that's not going to happen, is it? They're like, well, as long as you're not stupid. I'm like, why does it have to be contingent on that? That doesn't seem very fair to me as a stupid person. But they were like, as long as you don't get close to animals, you're fine. I'm like, all right, I can manage that. But I'm around myself 24/7. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm quite the animal. They're like, see, that maybe you shouldn't be around other people because they're going to get something worse than rabies, which is the ick, because what the fuck. Anyways, one of the people in our tour group, when we toured this botanical garden, there were all these animals. And it's funny because they're like normal animals that you would see in the States, like ducks and shit, but they're interesting. Like I saw an Egyptian goose and I was like, of course you are, right? Just in a park, you're like a more interesting duck. It's kind of like in Pokemon where you go to like regions and they have a region specific thing. Like, yeah, in America we have Pidgeys, but then you go somewhere else and you're like, oh, you have a fucking Spearow. Nope, see, that's basic too. I can't think of a different generation flying Pokemon, but you know what I'm saying. Here we have Pidgeys, and there you have Chatots, right? That's the little parrot guy. But then one thing I noticed is that they did still have pigeons, which is funny because no matter where you go, pigeons are the exact same. Like there were these pigeons, I'm like, oh my God, you look like you're from New York. And they're like, what's that? I was like, oh, right, because you've never seen it. I'm like, you would like it. And they're like, yeah, it's pretty nice. They're like, is it cool? Get it? Because pigeons say coo. And that also means cool in slang. Okay, that's... Anyways. But yeah, I noticed that pigeons are the same every single place. They're not interesting anywhere. They're the exact same. And maybe that's what makes them truly interesting. But I remember Cape Town is a pretty safe place. It's not too crazy, right? Like Johannesburg, we'll get there. That's a dangerous place from what I've heard. But Cape Town, pretty chill. Except our tour guide, when we were driving down the street, he said some people call this the Long Street. And it's a very safe street, but people are quick to rob here. So be careful. But very safe. And still, I don't know if that was a joke or not. I'm pretty sure I got his sense of humor. And I'm like, he said that sincerely. I swear to God. So that was great. And then, we flew to Hoodsprit. And that's where all the National Grand Kruger National Park is, right? That's where all the safari happened. And that's really the meat of this episode, is that safari. And that was the most exciting part of the trip because goddamn, I think we went on 6 safari trips. You're only supposed to do 5, but the night we got in, our tour guide, Reggie, was like, hey, do any of you want to go out now? We can do a little short safari, a little 20-minute safari. And we're like, yeah. And then we went out there for a little longer because they said you're not supposed to be out there in the darkness. And they said it very foreboding like that. I'm like, oh, if this was a horror movie, that's when all the main characters would die. Because they kept saying it. You do not go out after dark. And they were pretty strict on that, which makes sense because they don't want you to die because then they might be liable. I don't know. I signed something, so maybe I'm not liable. Who knows? I wouldn't be around to care at that point. We have fun. But we went, on 6 safaris, and the first one was short. We didn't see too much. We saw a giraffe and some hippos. And I won't try to post too much in this episode because, again, I don't know if I'll have the time to edit it. But throughout this week, I'm going to be posting a bunch of pictures on my Instagram. So make sure you follow my Instagram, which you guys are following my Instagram, right? Right? Excuse me. Make sure you like this video, by the way. But let me take you through the safari. So safari day 1, we'll just cut out the first night. I already gave you the review. Giraffes, hippos. There we go. Safari day 1. There were 2 big days and then a half third day. So let's go through day 1. First, I saw zebras. Apparently, zebras, if they have thicker black stripes on one side of them, they will face that way to the sun when the sun is out. Because as you learn in AP environmental science, right, black has low albedo. White, lighter colors, have high albedo. And albedo is the ability to reflect light. I believe, don't quote me on that. I just know that black is low albedo because my hair has low albedo, which is why it gets hot in the sun, because it absorbs heat. That's also why you go into a car with black seats, it's very, very hot. Versus a car with maybe a cream interior, it might be a little cooler, relatively, comparatively. It might still be hot, but it won't be as bad. And that's the thing. Zebras have the same thing. If they have bigger black stripes on one side of their body, they will typically all be facing that way to the sun as a way to cool themselves. I believe this is called thermoregulation, and I did look it up because I'm like, I don't know, Reggie. That seems like you just made it up on the spot. And it is a real thing, but it is highly debated. A lot of people are like, it's not real. Zebras are just, facing different ways because they're just facing that way. It has no real meaning. But some people seem to believe it, and I'm going to pass it off as the truth. Thermoregulation is a thing that zebras do. And that's the thing, you learn these little tidbits as they take you through the safari. They point out an animal and they're like, yeah, see that? Blah, blah, blah. Like I learned the giraffes, if they have hairy tufts, the hairy ears, those are female giraffes. If they have just smooth, shaved tufts, right, the little ears on top, that is a male. And if they have a fifth leg, that is also a male. All right, easy. And then I saw a leopard. We saw a leopard. Those motherfuckers are big as shit. That's another thing I learned. Some of these animals are smaller than I thought. Not most, but most trended in this direction, which is they were bigger than I fucking thought. Most animals were like the size I thought. There was one lion I saw. Oh no, I'm jumping ahead in the story. There was a lion I saw that was like, it's kind of smaller than I thought it'd be. And he turned around. I'm like, nothing. I didn't say anything. I didn't say fucking shit. That was him. Don't look at me. But pretty much everything that I saw was like bigger than I thought it'd be. And rhinos were like the most obvious version of that. When I saw a rhino for the first time, I'm like, no way they made him that big. No way that motherfucker's that big. That's crazy. Are they like some House of Mirrors they're doing here? Because he shouldn't be like, that's a living thing. Fuck out of here, man. Also, the first time I saw an elephant, I was like, no shot. A wild elephant's that big. They're just walking around. Dude, I wouldn't fuck with that thing. I mean, I wouldn't fuck with any of these animals. They could all just fuck my shit up, fam. But a rhino, biggest shock value. If you ever see a rhino in real life, let me know. Are they bigger than you thought? See, that's the other thing. I came back from this trip and someone asked me like, oh, Gauruv, like, how did you like plan the trip and everything? Like, give me the details. You already did the hard work. So like, no, this was someone at work and they asked in front of other people and I had to acknowledge, I'm like, yeah, I mean, I can help you. By the way, this is a crazy out of touch conversation we're having right now because who the fuck casually plans for South Africa in front of other people? You know how much it costs? It's a lot of money. That's not like I'm privileged. Absolutely. You have to acknowledge, like, to go to South Africa. That's why no one goes to South Africa. That's why you go on Instagram and every summer, all those people you went to college with are in fucking Spain and Paris. Because those are expensive, but they're decently affordable. South Africa's fucking crazy, dude. I just have enough money saved up that I could pull the trigger on it this year. And so I did. And it was fucking sick. So yeah, if you're thinking about going to South Africa, let me know because I can totally give you the deets, which is such an out of touch thing to say. Oh yeah, are you thinking about going to South Africa? It's like, what are we doing? I couldn't even afford fucking dinner last week and we're talking about South Africa. Shut up, man. Now I get why they say eat the rich. This makes sense because they're just openly being like, hey, do you go skiing? Skiing? Did I win the fucking jackpot? What do you mean skiing? Someone said, I never understood what privilege was until I went to college with someone that was like, oh yeah, my family would always go skiing in the winter. It's like, oh, okay, never mind. That's rich. I also saw a lion, and there was a little story with the lion, right? We only have about 10 minutes left. Jesus Christ, I gotta speed through things. We were about 50 feet behind a lion. I'll post a picture. This it was where we were sitting. You can't really see it. I'll tell you the story first. This was us in the Jeep. And I noticed that our tour guide, Reggie, he was kind of, going like this to the fucking joystick of the car. What was that? The gear shift? My bad. I just hung out with a Jeff that was spelled G off. So I'm, I almost called it a gear shift. No, a gear shift. And I was like, my sister was like, what? I'm like, it doesn't work. I think we're stalled out. And she's like, oh my God. I'm like, yeah. This is going to make a story, huh? And then our tour guide got out. What you have on these tours is a tour guide and a tracker. The tracker sits on the front of the Jeep and he looks out and sees if there's any tracks. Very aptly named, huh? I'll post a video of that. You can see you got the tour guide in the front right and the tracker in the front left. And there's no seatbelt. He's just kind of posted up there. And his name was Forget. That's the thing. In Africa, you can pick your own name at a certain point. And so sometimes people pick these names that I don't think the meaning actually gets attached. They're like, oh, that's just a cool word. It's kind of like, have you ever seen this idea that like, oh, I would love to name my daughter gonorrhea if it wasn't such a disgusting fucking word. Like, it sounds beautiful. Like, oh, maybe you could even call her Rhea for short. Like, gonorrhea is probably a beautiful name if it wasn't what it is, And that's the thing. A lot of people in Africa have these names that they just probably like the sound of, but like it doesn't matter what the real meaning is. So our tracker's name was Forget. And then we met another tracker named Remember. And then we met someone named Risen. And then we met someone named Gravity. And then I met someone named California. And then even more specifically, I met someone named Stanford. So that's the thing. A lot of interesting names that you'll run across in Africa. And they're all the best. Oh my God. Because who the fuck would ever think to name someone Gravity? That's another great name. Because it's such a good name, but we attached it. Fucking Newton took it. Little selfish asshole. It could have been such a sick name. But no. Not how things fell into place, huh? Little Gravity joke for you folks. But sorry, I need to get back on track. But yeah, the Jeep stalled out, and then our tour guide Reggie got out of the Jeep and said, hey guys, I'm going to go get jumper cables from another Jeep. If the lion starts walking at us, just scream. What do you mean? Like scream in any specific way? Because I'll be screaming, but which way do you mean? And then it was fine. He went, got the jumper cables. We didn't need them. He just realized what he did wrong. I forgot exactly what it was. It was the way he left the car before he turned it off, which is why it couldn't start up again. But then it started up again. We went up to the lion. So you can see this is how close we were to the lion. We were just behind a hill. So basically like 20 feet behind where this picture is taken from. That's where the Jeep stalled out. And then we stopped for tea and coffee, and there were hippos in the water. And I swear to God, man, people are too comfortable around hippos because I know they're one of the most dangerous animals. I think one year they earned most dangerous animal in the world. That's right. There were Times People, dangerous animal of the world or something. I don't know. And I know they're fast, but people think, they look all big and clunky. They're like, oh yeah, they move like Celtic Shack. And I'm like, nah, man, that moves like Orlando Magic Shack, man. You got to get the fuck away from that thing. So people would go up to the water, and this was great. The safari guides, they would always say this whenever someone was doing some shit. They would always say, oh, sorry. We're not allowed to do that. It was gentle parenting at its finest because people would walk up to this giant like pond where these hippos were. And that's what's also scary about fucking hippos, dude. Well, hopefully you aren't doing that to hippos, but that's what's scary about hippos is that there's only like 3 heads, but then suddenly there'll be like 7 heads, and then suddenly there'll be no heads above the water. So I'm like, wait a minute, how many of you are there in there? And how many are close to the edge of the water? Because they're all in the center, which makes sense, deepest part. But I'm like, what if some of you are just like chilling near the shallow end, and then you're just gonna take one of us, huh? And so I always kept someone in front of me. There's that whole thing. You don't have to outrun the bear. You just have to outrun the other person. And so I always kept one person in front of me and the hippos. But these people were getting too cavalier, right? They kept walking up to the water, and the safari guides had to be like, sorry. We don't allow that. We stopped to see some animal one time. Someone in our Jeep stood up, and Reggie was like, oh, sorry. We don't stand up. Gentle parenting at its finest. And it's so sweet. It's so sweet. But the hippos were cool. scary as fuck. And I don't understand why people don't understand that. But then we saw buffaloes, which apparently buffaloes are the second most dangerous animal in Africa. And that is because they attack without warning. They'll just be chilling and they'll be like, oh, I'm actually going to run into you and kill you. So that's what makes them so dangerous. There's no like indication. They're essentially bipolar, right? Because they're like, oh, this is chill. This is really chill. I'm going to kill you now. It's like, oh, whoa, what the fuck? And then we saw some cheetahs up close. That's right. We walked up to some cheetahs, and we were about 20 feet away from them. They were like, you want to go see cheetahs on foot? And most of the group was like, no, that's fine. We're good here. And they're like, yeah, come on. And then they just got up and walked us in a single file line. They gave us important rules. Don't make too much noise. Don't crouch. And stay in a single file line, okay? Keep us at the front and the back of your line, and you'll be fine. And so they walked us up. I was the second person in line. They walked us up, and then Forget said, all right, wait here. And I was like, all right, I wonder where the cheetahs are. He's probably going to go look if they're up there. And then I turned to my right, and they're just sitting there. I was like, oh. And I don't know why. And I'm going to make a little disclaimer here. I don't like when people say that whole thing where it's like, yeah, I mean, what's so scary? Like, you ever see a scary movie and someone's like, that wasn't scary at all? Shut up. Are you brave? What do you think that counts for? Sorry, your currency doesn't work here because I don't give a fuck. People eating spicy food? It's not even spicy. Oh, you guys need water? Shut up. Shut the fuck up. However, I'm about to be that person, but I want you to know I mean it sincerely. I come from a sincere place. Welcome me with open arms, please. I don't mean any harm. Because when I saw those cheetahs, I didn't actually freak out. I was very calm because I understood the rules. See, we were already about 2 days into the safari to where I was like, oh, I kind of get how you're supposed to act around certain things. Cheetahs we hadn't seen up close. So I don't know where the fuck I had the audacity, the temerity, the gall to be so calm. But I was. I don't know what it was. But I was like, hey, as long as we're being respectful of their space, they'll be respectful of our space and our scalps. Like they won't rip them from our necks. Yeah, looking back, the more I think about it, it is terrifying. Like I'm getting retroactively terrified. But in the moment, I was very calm because I'm like, hey, it's kind of like I don't like planes, right? I get so anxious leading up to it. But then once I'm on the plane, I'm like, hey, whatever. Because once I'm on the plane, it's out of my control. But everything up to a plane is in my control. Like getting late, finding the plane, it's all that shit that could go wrong. But once I'm on the plane, I'm like, well, I just have to sit here now. And that's how I felt about the cheetahs. I'm like, well, I'm here. My seatbelt is buckled. Whatever happens, happens. But everyone else was freaking the fuck out. Everyone was like, can we go back now? He's like, and Forget was like, we didn't get pictures yet. And they're like, that's fine. But I was chill. And actually, here's a picture of me with the cheetahs. I'll post this one. But you might have to zoom in. They're in the back. Like, look just in the back left of the photo. Those are 3 cheetah brothers. Not to be confused with the cheetah girls. You knew I was going to make that joke. You early 2000s, late 90s kid. But then we saw rhinos. I already talked about those. We saw crocodiles. And what's interesting about crocodiles, or maybe they were alligators. One of the two. But they go towards the sun and they just open their mouth because it apparently warms them from the inside out. They let the sun in. Thought of another bad joke. But they let the sun in. And apparently warms them up if they just, to the sun. And then we saw rhinos. We saw a mother and her child, and they ran off to the left. And then we saw this big, bulky looking dude, and our safari guide was like, oh yeah, that's a male rhino. He's chasing after them. And he did. Here, I'll put a video of it. Oh, it's just so much work to edit this. Oh my God. But you see how he's chasing? Our tour guide, Reggie, told us, apparently the male rhino, he wants to mate with the female rhino, but the female's not ready. She's like, I just had a kid. I don't want that. So sometimes what the male rhino will do is he'll kill the kid. And when he told us this, I laughed. I went, oh. And everyone else went, oh my goodness. And am I wrong? But the reason I laughed, because first of all, if things are uncomfortable, I'm going to laugh. Oh yeah. But the reason I laughed, because going into the wild, right? I come with the assumption that things are going to be fucked up. It's just a matter of like how fucked up they are. So when you present me with some fucked up shit, I'm like, oh my God, that's crazy. But like, of course that happens because you know how much shit happens in the wild. I don't know why we just act like it's all like hunky dory over there. Like it's like a fucking Bambi before the parents. You know what I'm saying? Uh, but like bad shit happens out there, like awful shit we could never imagine. So when you tell me that like a rhino is gonna come in and kill a kid just to get with his mom, I'm like, oh my god, of course. That's so fucked up. And like the reasoning there is what makes me laugh because I'm like, that's how you think to get around that? You couldn't just tell him, hey, bud, go play with these blocks for a little bit. You're like, hey, I'm going to murder you so I can get with her. What? That's the thing. Like when I deal, right, you deal with someone that is kind of annoying. I go in with the idea that, oh, they're annoying. So I'm not going to get upset if they're annoying. I'm going to actually laugh and be like, oh, they're acting like how I thought they would. And that's how I feel when I hear fucked up things about the wild. I'm like, oh, of course a rhino does that. I mean, what do you expect from probably the horniest guy in the jungle? Get it? Because, all right, that's... But then the other things we saw some leopards in the bushes, and I actually, we saw them mate. That's right. I didn't think I'd see that. Our safari guide, Reggie, he said, yes, you can see them mate. I'm like, oh yeah, it's cool to see two of them. He's like, well, no, they're not just hanging out. They're mating. I was like, oh yeah, no, I see him and his mate. And he was like, that's not, no, they're like mating with each other. I was like, come again? And he was like, no, they probably won't. They don't have that fast of refractory periods. I was like, oh, laid that one up for you, didn't I? But yeah, I have that on video, unfortunately. I'm going to delete that off my phone. Actually, that that might be not good. Actually, you can't really see anything in the video. They just go behind a bush. There's some what I could only call a leopard doing squats, but I didn't see what he was doing squats on. So it's probably fine. That's Then we saw some lions up close. These will all be on my Instagram. And yeah, saw a shit ton of buffalo the next day. There's what's called the Big Five in Africa. The reason they're called this is there's 5 animals. You got the lion, the leopard, the rhino, the elephant, and the buffalo. The reason they're called the Big Five is because they're the 5 most dangerous animals to hunt on foot in Africa. This term was coined over 100 years ago by big game hunters, and now it's used by tourists and safari guides. And we, on that last morning, saw all of the Big Five on that one safari. See, they take you out. There's 2 safaris. The way it works is every day you wake up at 4:30 because you got to leave at 5:30, and they take you out for 2.5 hours. So from 5:30 to 8, they take you out, you come back, you eat breakfast, you chill for about 2 hours, and then you have lunch at 2, and then at 4 o'clock, they take you out for another about 3 hours. And so you do 2 safaris a day. And on that last day, we only did a morning safari, and during those 2.5 hours, we saw all the Big Five. And it makes you wonder, hey, wait a minute. Were you guys holding out on us? Why did we suddenly see all of them at the same time? Took us 2 days to see elephants, but now we sing them like it's no big deal. In fact, we came up to one and it threw a tree on us. It was probably waiting for us, being like, where the fuck have you guys been? And I'll be quiet for about 10, 15 seconds here, and I'll put the video here with sound.
Huh? No, I'm good. Just right on us.
He's pushing you towards us, Reggie. Up, Reggie.
What'd you think? What'd you think? Yeah, isn't that sick? I mean, I'm glad that the tree was like a couple of feet back, because that would have probably killed the person in the back of our Jeep, but we all walked out unscathed, right? Just as we planned, because that's the thing. All those animals are just on a rail underneath. We would never get hurt, right? Right? But then we came back home, and I know I'm already over time. Oh my goodness, this is going to take forever to edit. But I came back home and I realized that taking long plane rides coming back home sucks ass. Like going there, I'll be honest, the 15 and a half hour flight, it didn't feel that bad. Because I think I knew at the end, this is going to be awesome. But coming back home, I'm like, what the fuck is there to look forward to? But no, it's just, you just know that, oh my God, I'm out here. Like a select amount of people know that I'm out here, and that's probably why they're now reaching out, because they're like, oh, he's doing that. I'll get him when he comes back. But for the most part, right, you're disconnected from everyone, from work, from people that are like, aren't that close, but like, you see every so often. So you're like, oh, yeah. They might reach out. And when you're out there, you're completely disconnected from everything, right? For the most part, there's no service when you're out there in the safari area, in the bush, they call it. So it was a nice way to disconnect. And then coming back, you're like, what the fuck? I got to take a 14 and a half hour flight, a 10-hour flight, a 2-hour flight, just to go back to someone being like, all right, hey, you're back. How was the trip? Anyways, I got something for you to do. And it's like, no, God damn it. And that's the thing. It's at work, it's with friends. They're like, oh, you're back now. Now you get to do this thing. I'm like, no, I look forward to it, right? I like being employed. I like having friends, but I'm also like, God damn it. It's such, every time I go on vacation, I'm closer and closer to just disappearing somewhere and going off the map. Because I'm like, that's bliss. That's amazing. It's kind of like having an injury when you're younger. You go to school and everyone's like, oh my God, what happened? And you're like, God damn it. And you have to come up with like some small, succinct story that you can tell people and just be like, here, this is good. Have this tidbit. Because that's what coming back from vacation's like. Everyone's like, oh my God, what happened? And they don't actually care most of the time. They just want to be in the know. They're like, oh, my friend went to South Africa. Oh, did you know that my friend broke their hip? It's like, all right, did you? It's like, well, no, but I have someone else's story to tell in an uninteresting way. So this is probably too harsh. I'm so sorry. But, oh, another thing I wanted to add. There was this one, oh my God, we're way over time, I think. But there was this one road when we were driving to the bush, we'll call it. When you go to the safari land, everything is just, there's no roads. Except there was one road. There's this one big road you have to take to get there. And before you get on it, there's this sign that says potholes ahead. I was like, all right, so we got to be a little careful. And we're in the small van. And that sign should have said, oh, road ahead. Because that's the more rare thing to look out for. Because all there fucking was potholes. Here's a video. These were the potholes we were driving over. It probably doesn't look that bad. But it was so bad that this little car van thing we were in, they would just drive actually off the road, just in the little dirt path on the right of the road, because even that was smoother than this road. I don't know what the fuck happened to that road, but Jesus Christ. And then it was funny, we went into the, we're on this dirt road, just dirt. And actually, I'll put a video of that. You can see how shaky it is. And I remember on one side of me, I didn't get this in the video, but on the right side of me, there was this big metal gate, this big metal fence with barbed wire. And I'm like, oh, nothing could ever get over that. And then on the left side, there was nothing. And I was like, hey, what if, are we not protected on the left side? Like, what if something comes from the left side? And they're like, we'll just hope that nothing comes from the left side. I'm like, oh yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about that. Why worry about bad things happening when you just hope that they don't? And speaking of bad things happening, I don't want this podcast episode to do bad as well. I mean, last week, abysmal, the numbers. It's like you guys don't understand. My inherent self-worth is attached to this podcast success. You got to help me out here. And also the last 2 episodes, you're like, wait, Gauruv, you were out for 2 weeks. Didn't you just post 2 episodes the past 2 Mondays? Yeah. I recorded those and edited them ahead just for you guys. So make sure you go back to those. Show them love. The last episode only has 5 likes on it. What the fuck are you guys doing? I know like 20 of, I checked the numbers. I checked the watch time. Like 20 people watched that episode. What the fuck? I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. Maybe you just forgot. Go back and like that episode. And make sure you like this episode too. So I don't have to wear another sweater next week. Because it is actually hot as shit here. Because why? Why is it still 87 degrees in October, yet it gets dark at 7 p.m.? I wish I was in South Africa still. But I'm here, and I'm glad to be back. And thanks for watching, and I will talk to you next week. Okay? Bye.